Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Christians and Muslims sometimes get upset over my videos, saying that I am not being respectful towards their religion or their religious beliefs. This is called, as Dennett pointed out, playing the hurt feelings card. However, as Sam Harris has noted, the taboos that govern our discussions about religion need to come down. Ancient superstitions and 21st century technology mix about as well as drinking and driving, and the consequences for our civilization can be quite dire. But what rules can replace this old taboo against discussing religion in order that we can have a rational and yet respectful discussion of religion? Well, I would like to propose several rules that I follow myself. The first of them is that you are not your beliefs. You should not associate yourself too closely with any particular religion. You were not born a Christian or a Muslim. There is no such thing as a Christian or Muslim baby. You didn't come out of your mother's womb saying Allahu Akbar or Jesus Christ is Lord. These are beliefs that you acquired at a later time. What are beliefs? Beliefs are the information that you have received, whether it is accurate or flawed, combined with your life experiences that lead to certain interpretations of that information. Life experiences such as, for example, you were indoctrinated to believe a certain religion is true. Criticizing beliefs is not hate. You were not born a Christian or a Muslim, as we've mentioned, and you can become an ex-Christian or an ex-Muslim quite easily. At the recent Louisville Atheists and Freethinkers meeting, I asked for a show of hands of who among you is an ex-Christian, and nearly every hand went up. The important thing I'm trying to get across here is that I don't hate you. You are the mind that I am trying to set free. This leads me to rule number 2. There is no shame in changing your beliefs. If you discover that the information on which you based your current beliefs turns out to be erroneous, the only responsible thing to do is to reevaluate them and to form a new set of beliefs based on the presumably more accurate information that you now have. But some people say they can't do that because their religious beliefs are sacred. This leads me to rule number 3. There are no sacred beliefs. All beliefs must be subject to inspection, criticism, and yes, even ridicule, because ridicule is a very effective tool for exposing absurdities. Now, some people say that we shouldn't put much energy into this. After all, Christianity and Islam are harmless beliefs. Some have asked me why I spend so much time railing against Christianity if I don't believe in it myself. The problem with this line of thinking is that Christianity and Islam are not harmless beliefs for reasons that are involved more than just what we can go over in this short video. But basically, Christianity has caused us to fall far behind where our potential is. This graph here on nobeliefs.com vividly illustrates this, how we are 1,000 years behind the technology that we might otherwise have had it not been for Christianity. And the only reason we were able to climb our way out of the Dark Age is because the stranglehold of Christianity was finally broken. Islamo-Christianity also carries consequences today, ranging from scientific progress to sociological issues, and if we're not careful, may have dire consequences in the future. It may very well lead to the extinction of the entire human race. So the only responsible thing to do when we're exposed to information that we didn't know before is to reevaluate our beliefs. But some people will refuse to do this. Why? The answer, very simply, is fear. They don't want to face unpleasant facts. But avoiding unpleasant reality will not lead to happiness, because somewhere in your subconscious brain you will be aware of the unpleasant reality. Neurosis is the substitute for legitimate suffering, as Freud once observed. So what is it religious people are afraid of? Life and death. Both of them carry uncertainty. We don't know what will happen to us tomorrow, and we don't know what will happen to us when we die. Religion tries to comfort people, saying that there is a friendly sky god watching over them who will make sure everything turns out okay in their life, and will carry them off to a paradise where they can be with their loved ones when death does come. This leads me to rule number 5. Face reality as it is, not as you wish it were. This is an observation of Jack Welch, former CEO of General Electric, and it's a very good rule for life itself. But some people say that they can't cope. They really need the comfort that Islam or Christianity provides them. How can you cope with a naturalistic worldview? Well, the answer comes from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Ask yourself 2 simple questions. 1, what's the worst thing that can happen? Very often, the unknown looms larger in our mind than even the worst calamity that we can realistically imagine. After all, the greatest fear is fear of the unknown. And once we face this possibility, ask ourselves, can we deal with it? And the answer is yes. The human spirit is truly indomitable, and we really can cope with whatever life throws at us. Take death, for example. What is the worst case scenario? Well, we can pretty well dispense with hell, and anyone who thinks otherwise, I would invite you to read chapter 13 of my book. I provide all the reasons why hell isn't a realistic possibility. The worst thing that can possibly happen, at least as I see it, is that we cease to exist. Now, I'm not saying that this is the reality, because again, we don't know what happens to us when we die. But even if that is the case, could we cope with it? After all, we're no worse off than when we got started, if it is true. And we certainly won't be aware of it. It won't be painful. We won't be aware of the passage of time. So that makes the reality that we're experiencing right now all the more precious. So why is it that Islamo-Christians get so upset over non-belief? Why is it that they play the hurt feelings card in discussions over religion? Or they claim persecution whenever they don't get their way in politics? Sometimes just being an openly non-believing person is enough to get a look of malice or disdain, or in some cases, harassment or death threats. Could it be about their own insecurity? This leads me to rule number 6. If you really believe something, you won't get upset discussing it. After all, if I were to walk up to you and say that the sun revolves around the earth, or that the earth is flat, you wouldn't get upset with me and say, how dare you offend my beliefs in astronomy. You would simply present the evidence as to why you believe that your view is right and mine is wrong, and you could have a rational discussion about it. Or perhaps you just roll your eyes and say whatever and walk away. Either way, you wouldn't take it personally and you wouldn't get upset. Islamo-Christians are in the habit of surrounding themselves with fellow believers to provide themselves an artificial sense of validation, performing rituals and reciting mantras to convince themselves that what they believe is actually true. If they really believed it, though, they wouldn't need to do these things, and they wouldn't get upset when presented with someone's non-belief. This leads me to rule number 7. Playing the hurt feelings card is an admission that you don't really believe, and on some level, you're afraid of reality. I hope that this discussion has helped you to realize maybe why it is that you get so angry whenever I am disrespectful towards your religious beliefs. And maybe just realizing this will put you on the path to intellectual freedom and breaking the shackles of faith. Either way, may God's gift of reason light our way.